This is Electoral Commission of Ghana. Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo. Please, John Dramani Mama, who is representing? Johnson Asiedu Nketia, my lord, is representing the petitioner. Rose Jane Mensah, chairperson, is representing the first respondent. Mr. Peter McMahon is representing the second respondent.
If your lordships please appear for the petitioner, and with me my learned friend to the leader. If it pleases my lords, Justin Amenuvo appears for the first respondent with A.E. Samoa. Put it out. Put it on top.
If it pleases your lordships, I put one pound for the second respondent. My lords, with me are my colleagues, Frank Davis, Kweku Esrifi, and Agyapong.
My lords, I believe the last thing your lordship, the Chief Justice, said just before you rose was that there was going to be a consideration of the admissibility. And my lords, with respect, I have understood that this is not a video that is being tendered in evidence so as to have admissibility in question, but it is something that they are seeking to use to address some credibility issues. So I believe that at this stage we are not talking, I just wanted to clarify my own understanding, we're not talking about admissibility of the contents of that video. We're talking about their indication that they are seeking to use the video in cross-examination for the purposes of credibility of the witness. So, my lord, I wondered whether there can be confirmation.
Yeah, counsel, if it is not introduced in evidence, yeah, they can't cross-examine on that. So, if they ask for leave to have it in evidence, then maybe we will follow you, raise an objection based on, I think, Section 5 of the Evidence Act. Okay. Before we go on, we want to make a few observations. Mr. Frank Davis. Mr. Frank Davis, please, we respectfully want to draw your attention to the legal professional conduct and ethical rules 2020. Please, if you look at section 38, rule 38, sorry, the court is not comfortable with the post-trial interview that you grant outside. Please, if I may read to you. Rule 38. A lawyer who is practicing or has participated in the investigation or litigation of a matter that is still pending before a court shall not make an out-of-court statement or grant an interview to the media on the matter. So please, we are just drawing your attention to the ethical infractions, and you have to advise yourself accordingly. Somebody other than you may do it. That is not our concern, but you are precluded by law because you have been announced in the case on a regular basis.
My Lords, I'm grateful.
And even, please, if you are even a lawyer and you are not actively participating, please, we make a passionate plea to you to put down your robes and grant the interview. You don't think that you should be in robes with a wig on and under. Yes, addressing the media.
Lord's, the advice is faithfully taken.
My Lords, may we ask the witness? My Lords, in respect of the issue of admissibility of the evidence in the video recording, our view is that at this stage we will only play the video recording for purposes of identification.
If you want the court to have it in evidence, you can do the right thing. Yes.
My Lord, I then wish to apply for leave to tender
You haven't even shown it, so...
Very well. My Lords, as I said, the object of the video evidence is to demonstrate.
You show the video.
Human by letting them play it, then he can see it, and then you can start from there.
Very well.
In the witness box, you are being reminded of the previous oath that you took.
Mr. Nketia, at the last SaGA date, we sought to refer to our Exhibit A, which is a video recording. And you did not seem to have Exhibit 6, which is our video recording of certain press conferences. And you did not seem to have looked at them. And also,
my Lord, I believe this is really where I started off from. That
Mr. Chikata, could you finish so I can record what he's actually saying? It doesn't seem to me that he finished.
and also there was not the necessary preparation technically to show what is the recording. And the case was adjourned to today so that could be done. Now, I believe you have seen the recording since then.
Yes, my lord. I have watched the video of the copy of the video that was attached to the statement.
And the recordings do relate to press conferences.
Yes, where I spoke.
Yes. And where you didn't speak is still related to press conferences on the 2020 presidential elections.
Yes, my lord.
Yeah. Now, my lords, we may wish to have the recording played in open court, because it is our view that the recordings, as your lordships will see, go to the credibility of the witness and the petitioner.
As we have indicated from the beginning, if they are being shown in order to deal with issues of credibility, we don't have any issue with that. Our concern is that it's not an issue of admissibility. And my lords, this was why I needed to clarify your last order, because
the admissibility comes first. It must be admitted before we see the relevance.
In that event, we are objecting to the admissibility. In that event, if the issue of admissibility,
I thought the witness counsel was cross-examining him some few moments ago, and he said he had seen it and he had watched it. Maybe you have other legal objections. You can be recorded as such.
No, the legal objection is that it cannot be admitted through this witness. It is not admissible through this witness.
No, the witness said he did speak to
He says he has seen it, but it can't be admitted in evidence in this court through him.
Okay.
It is not something from his custody. He says he has watched it. It is not from his custody. It is not a recording made by him. There is no, he cannot authenticate. He cannot authenticate that video.
The witness has not said so. The witness has not said so.
No, my lord, he says he has seen it, but
Seen it.
on the basis of that, we cannot, on the basis of that, we are objecting to that document being produced in evidence through the witness. The proper thing is for them to produce it in evidence, if that is what they are seeking to do. That's why it's an exhibit attached to their witness statement. As an attachment to their witness statement, it is entirely open for them to put it in evidence. It is in fact the process that they have initiated, but they cannot tender that video through our witness. They cannot do that, my lords. They cannot do that, and we respectfully object to that evidence by virtue of Section 6 of the Evidence Act. The exhibit in question is not coming from the custody of this witness. It is it is, according to counsel, it is an exhibit attached to the witness statements that they are seeking to introduce before this court. And they are entitled to introduce it into evidence through their witness when he is called into court. It is a different matter if you try to ask the witness on the opposite side to be the one to tender it. My lords, we cannot have it tendered through that witness. And my lords, I would respectfully also refer to section 136 which indicates, which provides as for of the Evidence Act, 1361 of the Evidence Act, I'm sorry. Where the relevancy of evidence depends upon its authenticity or identity, so that authentication or identification is required as a condition precedent to admission, that requirement is satisfied by evidence or other showings sufficient to support a finding that the matter in question is what its proponent claims. The proponent of that document is the second respondent. And your lordships clearly saw what happened in cross-examination the other time. The witness literally opened the envelope in which that exhibit had been attached to a witness statement at the request of second counsel for the second respondent. That cannot amount to authentication. And my lords, I cannot see what the problem is in my indicating. If your lordships wish the witness to step out whilst we discuss the legal admissibility, of course that can be done. But once there is an issue about admissibility, authentication is also an issue. And therefore, my lords, I cannot see how I'm not allowed to talk about authentication, if that's what your ladyship is suggesting, because you...
Pardon, what have I said?
Well, you suggested that authentication, the witness has said he has...
Mr. Sheikh, you're making your arguments. Kindly make your arguments.
Yes, I'm making my arguments in response to what your ladyship indicated. Because what your ladyship indicated was addressed to me, I believe, and addressed to the whole court. And respectfully, my point is that the issue of authentication is a precondition to the admissibility of the evidence. And we object.
Your Lordships, with all due respect, the objection being raised by counsel for the petitioner is misconceived. And it is misconceived for the simple reason that the witness has identified the evidence that we seek to tender through him. It is evidence about what he said in the press conference, and he's admitted before this court early this morning. We are not talking about Friday. We're talking about early this morning. He admitted that he had looked at the videos, and he admits that they cover statements that he had made at press conferences. So that is an identification and authentication of the evidence. Secondly, he's also admitted before this court that the video also covers statements made by the petitioner and other leading members of his party. So, my lords, it seems to me that in terms of the condition precedent, that ought to be satisfied by section 136(1). It is more than met. And we therefore pray that the objection be dismissed.
Are you objecting because the document is attached to their witness statement? Is that the grounds upon which you are raising your objection?
No, my lords, I'm objecting on the grounds that if that document, which is their evidence, if that document is to be admitted in evidence, it ought to be admitted in evidence through their witness. And secondly, my lords, yeah, but
I don't know what the current difficulty is. We have to see it first. The gentleman, the witness, is the only person who said he had seen it over the weekend, and he's the one in the box. So that line has been, that threshold has been crossed.
My lords, the threshold has not been crossed because the threshold has not been crossed simply because he's not just being asked to identify the document. My lord, and that's why he
didn't ask to do anything yet. It hasn't even been shown to him. So you're anticipating a question that hasn't been asked.
I'm not, my lord. I'm stating as a ground of objection that this is a document which the witness is not responsible for. It cannot be admitted through him, and its authenticity has not yet been established. It is a different matter if it is just being shown to him for the purposes of questions that will test his credibility, but if it is about admissibility, we are objecting. I don't understand. If I may just finally indicate that if it's identified, it is still open to them when their witness comes for them now to tender it. That's how.
That can be, yeah.
My lords, what I was saying respectfully is that if the witness identifies it as something that he has been shown and it's marked ID1, at the point in time where their witness comes in, that ID1 can become evidence. That is my understanding of the that ID1 then becomes admitted as evidence from their side.
Another possibility. That is possible.
Well, my Lord, respectfully, that's the only possibility.
No, that is not. The first principle that I was saying that they could tender it through him. I think we can debate on it, but not here. We don't want to engage in academic exercise. There could be a debate because I think that once he identifies the document and he finds that he has seen it, he's seen his picture in it, he has seen himself in it, They can identify, they can tender it through him.
Respectfully, the reason why that would not work is because, respectfully, documents are in their total context. The fact that he can identify himself in a part of the document cannot account for the context of the document. Because, my Lord, I mean, especially in these days of technology, your lordships are very well aware of the ways in which, you know, fake news, for instance, gets created, in which things get pieced together, which may not necessarily have been happening at the same time. My Lord, I need not go into all those details, but the reality is that he is not the maker of that video. And the fact that he hears his voice, he identifies his face in it, does not make it admissible through him. It does not make it authenticated by him. And it's a different matter where he is just identifying it. It's marked as such. He is cross-examined to the extent that is required as to credibility. And then when their witness comes in, he is able to transform it from being something identified into something that he puts in evidence. That's my understanding of the law.
Video to be played for him to identify it.
Hello. Can we request that you play the whole video, so that no allegation of lifting anything?
You want a prospective exhibit to be tendered?
Yes.
How can he truncate it at a point in time?
Very well. I'm just, you know. My Lord, I was just directing him, that is all.
Gentlemen, we need to just juxtapose the manual with the electronic. This is just like in the manual world.
Very well.
Yes, what we do in the manual world is what we are doing in this electronic.
I understand that,
yes.
My Lord.
Please start the video properly. Start from the beginning.
And the lecture for giving us.
That's the beginning. That's the beginning.
A working majority in Parliament. 140 seats in Parliament, which is a majority. And no attempt should be made to subvert that. I've looked at the results we've collected so far, and I'm excited, I'm happy with the results. And we won in 10 regions out of 16, and the Ghanaian people have expressed confidence in us. We will resist any attempt to subvert the will of the people.
Have won this election by some 6,166,385, and that constitutes 50.15%.
I need to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to you for your tremendous support, which you expressed overwhelmingly and convincingly at the polls. There's no doubt that Ghanaians from every region of this great nation of ours voted for change. And we did so in both the presidential and parliamentary elections.
He has won 141. That puts us in a clear majority, and will be giving President Mahama the needed majority in Parliament to be able to conduct his business as president. What a clear majority.
Presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, who is the president-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will address the nation and speak to issues pertaining to the presidential results declared by the Chief Minister of Osman Nuhu Sharubutu.
Parliamentary majority as we speak. The NDC, the National Democratic Congress, is still holding on to its parliamentary majority as our General Secretary stated. As we speak, we know that we have won 140 seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, our collation so far indicates that our presidential candidate, President John Dramani Mahama, is ahead, and we are expecting that the Electoral Commission will very soon come out to declare him the next president.
Let me repeat. Let me use this opportunity to ask a matter of urgency and importance. Call on the outgoing president, President William Akufo-Addo, to concede in the interest of our sovereignty, in the interest of the sanctity of our democracy, in the interest of the very people that he claims he wants to fight for. He must concede defeat, and it's very important.
Let me declare presidential results. Apart from chairperson of the Electoral Commission. But the Electoral Commission no presidential results will increase so in the city. If the various polling stations will declare results for. And the results are actually declared at the polling station. It is an Electoral Commission for declared or now office here. Okay, can you see a new OWUSU to move figures here? Acquah nationally. In the end, the figures here are taken from Electoral Commission polling stations across the country, which I said. President Mahama would be a new one. Now, our parliamentary level no here. And results are taken from Electoral Commission returning officers here. One declare a call for winners already. 141 years. Exactly. And you can say control value.
On this note, let me announce to all our supporters that you are free to humiliate. You are free to express your excitement because the NDC is forming the next government of the Republic of Ghana.
And the election for giving us a working majority in Parliament. 140 seats in Parliament is a majority.
In the interest of the
And I quote,
unacceptable errors. This is a key for NDC. You are
show you saying that the petitioner had won the elections.
My Lord, I have watched the video, and I've watched it here. I stand by every word, every punctuation, every sentence that relates to me, Johnson Asiedu Nketia. And there is nowhere, unless we are watching different clips, there's nowhere where I indicated definitively that the first respondent has won the elections. What I said was what I put in my answer last Friday, that we have won majority of seats in Parliament, which figure I put at 141 seats, and that we are cruising, the first respondent is cruising for victory. And that is precisely what has shown up in all the various speeches I have made, which have been clipped together.
So let's understand, you admit everything on the video coming from your image on the video.
From my mouth. Yes. Those are my pictures.
Very well.
And those are the words that came from my mouth.
I'm putting it to you that in the video you said, and I quote, the NDC has won 141 seats, and that puts us in a clear majority, and will be giving President Mahama the needed majority in Parliament to be able to conduct his business as president.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say that?
Those are my words.
I'm putting it to you that you thereby imply that President Mahama had won the elections.
I implied that I expected President Mahama to win the elections because every evidence was pointing at President Mahama's victory. And in fact, my lords, if you permit me, in all the 7 parliamentary and presidential elections that have been held in this country before this one, the presidential candidate and the political party which wins and controls parliament ends up winning the presidency.
Please,
so
Mr.
I have...
Mr. Asiedu Nketia, don't lecture us. You answer the questions I put to you. You can't lecture us here. No, it's not lecture.
The question.
We've answered the question. Don't give us a lecture of what happens in politics in Ghana, please. Now, yes, my lord.
Please, by way of case management, we want to give you 1 day to cross-examine the witness. Yes, you have to manage, because not more than one. That is the maximum we can give you.
Very well. Now, Mr. Asiedu Nketia, you see in the video various clips of your deputy, one Dokono. Is that correct?
Yes, my lord.
In the video, Dokono says Mahama has won this election by some 6,166,385, and that constitutes 50.15%. Is that not so?
I heard him say so in the video. But my lords, I indicated last Friday that I was present at the press conferences addressed by my good self and the petitioner. And I did indicate clearly that I would not be in a position to testify about whatever any other official of the NDC has said at their various press conferences. That was what I said.
Hello, I'm putting it to you that the press conferences that have been shown are press conferences organized by the NDC as a party.
Yes, my lord. The NDC has 38,000 branches. Each branch can organize a press conference in their own right. And we have regions. Each region can organize press conferences in their own right. And there are at national level, we have various departments. They can all organize press conferences in their own right. And the General Secretary does not have to be present at all such press conferences.
Now, as the General Secretary, these press conferences were organized with your consent and knowledge.
My lord, I am the chief executive of the party. So, in that sense, I take some responsibility about whatever happens in the party. But where a statement is made by a junior officer that contradicts what the chief executive has said, it is the chief executive's word that prevails.
Now, again, you saw Mr. Sami Jamfi stating that introducing the petitioner as president-elect in the video.
Yes, my lord, I saw it in the video.
Then again, your deputy, who works under you, said, "Let me announce to all our supporters that you are free to jubilate. You are free to express your excitement because the NDC is forming the next government of the Republic of Ghana." Is that correct?
That's correct, my lord. My lord, I'm not aware of any restrictions on jubilations of the right of party members to jubilate over election results anyway.
I'm sure this is correct. And then your representative from Ashanti region, Kwame, your regional secretary, said that President Mahama will be declared as president-elect of Ghana. And the NDC, historically, whenever NDC gets more than 25% in Ashanti, they go to the Flagstaff House.
Yes, my lord, I heard it.
So I'm putting it to you, Mr. Asiedu Nketia, that the thrust of all these statements in the various clips is that President Mahama had won the 2020 presidential election.
My Lord, these statements, according to the videos, were made at different times.
I didn't ask when they were made.
Some of them were made after declaration, some before declaration, and so on. So it is difficult to put all such together and say that at this point, this was what was said.
No, I'm putting it to you that these statements were made before declaration.
My Lord, my viewing of the video indicates that some of the statements were made after declaration.
Even better. And so you admit that some of the statements saying that the petitioner had won the elections were made after the declaration, not so?
From what I have watched here with everybody here, I can see that this is not a video of one event. These are videos picked and pieced together, and some of them relate to a time period before declaration, and others relate to a time period after declaration.
Now, it is no secret that interspersed between these press conferences, the NDC, under your direction, had organized several demonstrations in Accra, stating that the petitioner had won the election and warning the first respondent not to subvert the will of the people.
My Lord, the NDC had organized several demonstrations with three main objectives. One,
please, I have not asked you
the killing of innocent voters at polling stations by security officers, and nothing seemed to be happening. The NDC made that was one of the purposes of the press conference. The other purpose of the press conference.
Please, I have not asked you the purpose, so answer my question. Please, and don't be taking.
Can you restate?
Don't be taking instructions from, lawyers on this side, please.
Please, let's observe.
Please,
Dokono, please.
My Lord, I know what I'm talking about.
We are closer to them than you. We've not witnessed anything. Please.
Yes, please answer my question, and you had your opportunity to write your witness statement. So now you answer the questions. You understand?
Please, I'm asking the question again, and I answer according to my ability and what I consider to be the answer to the question.
I'm saying that interspersed between these press conferences,
yes,
the NDC organized a series of demonstrations, the object of which was to...
Thing is loaded. You see, it is double barrack. Can't you break them?
Organized a number of demonstrations. Is that so?
Yes, we did.
And one of the clear objectives of these demonstrations was that the petitioner had won the elections and the EC should not subvert the will of the people.
My Lord, the objective that relates to the presidential elections was that the results as declared were flawed. And the commission itself had accepted that the results were flawed, and that's why they kept changing the figures.
So you admit that you said that the results were flawed?
Yes.
Who, in your view, won the results? The elections?
My Lord,
who?
We are not interested in winning or losing a flawed election.
Very well.
We want the election, we want to be winners of an election that is credible.
Now, it is also true that notwithstanding all these statements that your party, yourself, and the petitioner had made that the petitioner had won the election, when you eventually filed your petition, there was nothing in the petition about the petition having won the election.
My Lord, I have indicated earlier.
No, please answer my question.
Please, I'm about to answer the question, unless you are not ready to listen to the answer.
I've asked you that when you filed the petition.
Yes, my Lord.
Yes. There was nothing in it to the effect that the petitioner had won the elections.
In the petition, yes.
Now, again, you claim in one of your statements that elections were won in the polling stations all over the country. So I'm putting it to you that when you made the statement that the petitioner had won the election, it presupposed that you had the polling station pink sheets.
My Lord, I indicated that I never said that the petitioner had won elections.
Now, when the petitioner was telling the whole nation that the NDC had won both the parliamentary and presidential elections, on what basis was he making that statement?
Mr. Gutamba, you can address on it. Yes, you can address on it.
Now, I believe that, as you had admitted during cross-examination on Friday, that you had trained agents at all the various polling stations and constituency collation stations and the regional centers. Is that correct?
That's correct, my Lord.
Yeah. Now, they are all entitled to carbon copies of all the different official election documents of the results.
Yes, my Lord, they are entitled to.
And I presume
that in some cases they were denied.
You know that you have not stated this important factor in your witness statement. You know that as a fact.
My Lord, I'm answering to a question that has been asked.
Yes, I'm saying that, and I'm following up, that you know that this important allegation, you have not mentioned it in your witness statement.
Yes, I have not mentioned it in my...
And the petitioner also has not mentioned it in his petition.
My Lord, we indicated that that is what ought to be, but as to whether what ought to be was what happened was another matter. I indicated it clearly in my response.
No, you are answering a different question. I'm saying that if you look into the petition, or you look at the petition, nowhere does the petitioner say what you are alleging.
Yes, but I said it in response to an answer last Friday.
Now, I'm putting it to you that the only evidence of election results that you have attached is your exhibit B, exhibit A is the declaration, exhibit B, the press release, exhibit C the 11 constituency summary sheets, Exhibit D, the summary sheet of Eastern Region, Exhibit E, the 275 constituency summary sheets, which you describe as a spreadsheet of the constituency summary sheets released by first respondent on his website.
Yes, my Lord. I indicated that we chose to rely on the first respondents' own figures, thereby judging them by their own Bible.
So it means that you accept the information on those documents of the first respondent.
The information suggests...
No, I've asked you a simple question. You are saying that you accept the information in those documents as the documents of the election.
As per Electoral Commission, first respondent's account.
Do you accept or do you not accept? That's the question you have been asked.
My Lord, if you can ask the question.
It's the same question.
Ask what?
That you accept the information in the documents that you have attached.
My Lord, I've been advised by my lawyers that is the information, however flawed it is.
We are not talking about what. Don't look there, please. We are not talking. We are not talking about what your lawyers advise you on. We are talking about you.
Yes.
So what do you have to say?
My Lord, because we disagree with the data, that's why we are here.
But you are using the same data in support of your claim.
My Lord, the data must be internally consistent, such that the declaration must be seen to be the product of aggregation of the data. And we are entitled, as a participating party, to look at the data available to us, from which the first respondent drew her conclusion. And we are saying that the data they have submitted does not support the conclusions that have been drawn. And that is why we are here.
Now, you see, you have not. Please look at me, please. So that you don't ask me, I should repeat the question again. Look at me. Now, you have not provided any document of your own showing that neither party won the elections.
My Lord,
please, it's
the documents we are working with, the information we are working with, is the result that has been declared by the...
No, that is okay. I'm saying, as a matter of fact, that you, the General Secretary, who was directing and coordinating the presidential elections, you have not produced a single piece of independent evidence supporting your claim that neither party won the elections. Simple question.
My Lord, I need to understand what independent means so that I can proceed to answer the question. Independent by way of NDC's own collated figures, or what type of independence?
The carbon, you see, as you know, all the documents that the EC was using to, collate the results from the polling station right up to the regional center, you had carbon copies of them, don't you?
Yes, we do.
And I'm saying that you have not put together your carbon copies to show that indeed nobody won the elections.
Yes, my Lord, because that is not the purpose of our petition.
So you say what is not the purpose?
I'm saying that we did not come to court to come and take over the work of Electoral Commission, but we are entitled, if we see the results are flawed, they are not born out of the data, we are entitled to challenge and to insist that we must have a credible results and a declaration that is based on the votes that were cast at the polling stations.
That's okay. I'm saying that you have not provided any basis of your own for your call for a runoff.
No, my Lord, we haven't brought that data here. We didn't consider it necessary to our case to bring any such data here.
You see, do you know why you haven't brought any such document? It is because all the documents you have, all the authentic documents on the election that you have, show that the second respondent had won the election, so you can't bring it out.
That is not so, my Lord, because we produce documents that will support the case we bring to this court. And if the case we have brought to this court is not about coming to retabulate figures the way MPP chose to do in 2013, and we do not need to bring those figures here. We are judging the first respondent by her own Bible.
Okay.
So the figures that she claimed were the figures that were generated and the conclusions that were drawn. We are saying that the conclusions are not born out of the figures she herself has presented.
So, Mr. Asiedu Nketia, I'm saying that indeed your claim for a rerun between the second respondent and the petitioner is based on the verbal slip made by the chairperson of the first respondent in mentioning the total votes cast rather than the total valid votes cast as a basis of determining the percentages.
My Lord,
do you understand the question?
Please ask if you think I don't understand it. Can you repeat it?
Yes. I'm saying that your claim for the rerun is based on the simple slip, verbal slip, that the chairperson of the first respondent made when he was declaring the results, in using the total votes cast rather than the total valid votes to determine the percentages. Is that not correct?
My Lord, we disagree that it's a verbal slip.
Now,
because a verbal slip in reading out figures would have meant that you read one figure instead of the other. But from subsequent corrections that the first respondents sought to bring up, the figure she mentioned and the correction that was made was not related to the figures of the day at all. Because if you have maybe total votes cast in one column and then total valid votes in another column, it is possible that you read total valid votes for total votes cast, but they will be the same thing. So when you come back to allege that it was a verbal slip, we expect that the correction that you made will relate to the figure which you thought you were reading. But the corrections that they claimed were made did not relate, the so-called corrected figures did not relate to any figure that was on the face of the declaration in the first place. So it was a new figure also introduced. So it couldn't have been any verbal slip.
You see, Mr. Nketia, you know, as an experienced player in elections in the Fourth Republic, that you determine who wins the presidential elections based on the total number of valid votes cast. Do you know that?
Yes, I do.
And you know also that it is completely impermissible for anyone to use the total number of votes cast as a basis of determining the percentages. You also know that?
Yes, I do.
Now, you also know that if you listen to your exhibit A, that is the press conference declaring who won the elections. If you tabulate the total of all the votes obtained by the 12 candidates, you will get 13,121,111 votes. Is that not correct?
My Lord,
not correct.
That figure was nowhere in any declaration.
No. Listen to the question. I'm saying, if you tabulate the results obtained by each of the 12 candidates and sum them up, you get a total of 30,121,111. Is that not correct?
My Lord,
is that not correct?
As per the figures released by the Electoral Commission, that is correct.
Okay. Now, you see, therefore, that being the case, you are not permitted to use any other number to calculate the percentages.
My Lord,
it's a simple question.
I was not involved in the calculation leading to the declaration.
Asiedu Nketia, please,
yes.
The cross-examination, you don't trade questions with the lawyer who is cross-examining you. He prefaced I remember when he was coming to this, he said, you are a veteran in elections, and you admitted yes.
Yes.
Who in Ghana doesn't know the role you have played?
Yes,
yes.
my Lord.
That was why he is trying to cross-examine you. Don't try to, go wayward as if you are engaging him.
Yes, my Lord, we are all learning. So, I'm sure if my friend met me in Parliament, it would be a different story. So,
Mr. Nketia, you admit that it is completely wrong for anybody to use the total votes cast as a basis for determining the percentages of the votes obtained by the different candidates.
Yes.
Yes. And anybody who does that, his position cannot be accepted anywhere in Ghana.
Yes, my Lord.
You see? But that is precisely what the petitioner does in paragraph 16 of his petition. You can check it and read it out to the court. And then there are 16.
Yeah, paragraph 16.
Read it out.
Consequently, if all votes of the Techiman South constituency were added to the petitioner's case, votes, second respondent's votes will remain the same at 6,730,430, now yielding 49.625%, while the votes of petitioner would increase to 6,342,907, now yielding 46.768%.
And you see that in paragraph 15,
I read paragraph 15.
Yes.
The Techiman South constituency has a total registered voter population of 128,018, and if added to the total valid votes announced by Mrs. Jean Adukwe Mensah as cast, i.e. 13,434,574, the resultant figure would now be 13,562,592.
You see, I'm putting it to you that the figure 13,434,574 does not represent the total valid votes obtained by the 12 candidates if you do the addition from the announcement, the declaration in your Exhibit A. It doesn't.
Can you come again, please?
I'm saying,
I want to hear the question.
I'm saying that if you do your addition of the votes obtained by each of the candidates as declared by the chairperson of the first respondent, that the sum you get is not 13,434,574. It is not.
Yes.
If you like, we'll give you a calculator. I'm saying that it is not the total valid votes.
My Lord, yes, it's not the total valid votes, but we are not claiming that that was the total valid vote. This is a response to the statement made by the first respondent herself as the basis for the declaration of the results before taking into account Techiman South votes. So we are again judging her by her own Bible.
I don't have a problem with that, but therefore you cannot use what you know is factually incorrect and not permitted by the rules governing our elections as the valid vote, total valid votes cast. You can't use that. Even if the EC made that mistake, you can't use that as a basis for your claim.
My Lord, as I sit here, I don't know the total valid votes really cast. All the figures are coming from the first respondent, and that first respondent keeps changing those figures.
Mr. Nketia, my question is, please answer my question. Your answer being the case that the 30,344,574 is not the total valid votes. That you've admitted that. You can't, I'm putting it to you that you can't use that as a basis, as a denominator for determining the percentages. You come to that, Beku. Why are you behaving like that? Yes. Answer my question.
Go ahead.
Answer my question.
Come again, my Lord.
I'm saying that you have admitted that the 13,434,574, that the chairperson of the EC announced is in fact not the total valid vote cast, and that if you do the tabulation of the actual numbers votes obtained by each candidate as declared on 9 December, you find out that it is 30,121,111. Yes, I'm just trying to help you understand. Okay, and therefore, it is impermissible for you to use this 30,343,574, even if it was used by the EC chair, to determine the percentages.
My Lord, both figures are coming from the same source.
I didn't have to use source. I'm saying it is impermissible for you to use it as the total valid vote cast.
If the first respondent declares it so, it must be so.
So you see, then if the first respondent declares that the second respondent is the winner, it also must be so.
No, my Lord, because that is why we are here. My Lord, if the first respondent declares that these are the figures, we are entitled to rely on those figures. And when we find out that the figures are internally inconsistent, we challenge her conclusions and then we come to a forum like this.
You see?
Or otherwise, I have been a banker. When a check is written,
please,
and there are problems with the check,
please,
not one signatory can cancel. You bring it back to where the check was written, and all the signatories will cancel and make the corrections. We have stated that we were not part of any attempt.
Now, you see, I'm putting it to you that you use this erroneous figure as a basis for calling for your rerun. That's what I'm putting to you. I'm saying that you use the erroneous figure of 30,434,754 as the basis for calling for a rerun. That's what you use. Whether it was used by the EC or not, that's what you use. Good. Now, so can you answer?
Yeah, come again.
No, you said, what was your answer?
What was the question, sir?
So I'm saying that you cannot use the manifestly erroneous figure or wrong figure of 13,434,574 as the total valid votes cast to determine the percentages of all the 12 candidates, and in particular the second respondent and the petitioner. That's obvious.
That we cannot use an erroneous figure. I want to get the question well before I can give you an answer.
This is the third time I'm asking you.
Yes, please do.
You cannot use that wrong figure as the total valid votes cast as a basis for your claim that there should be a rerun between the second respondent and the petitioner.
My Lord, that is not the only basis for the rerun.
No, please answer my question. I didn't ask you what other basis. We'll go step by step.
Yes, my Lord.
Good. Now, you admit that in paragraph 2 of your, you admit that the petitioner has been a member of the NDC since its formation in 1992. Since its formation, the NDC's formation in 1992.
I beg your pardon, we are referring to...
Is that not so?
We are referring to
the petitioner. Okay. You don't know when...
No, I want to, with the permission of my Lord, refer to the paragraph you are quoting.
No.
No quoting.
I'm asking you a general question.
Yeah, he's been a...
But if you think you need to, refresh...
Yeah, he's been a member of the
NDC. And naturally, he was the NDC's presidential candidate.
Yes, my Lord.
Now, indeed, in your paragraph 2 of your witness statement, can you read?
Yes.
Your paragraph 2?
Yes.
To the whole world.
I'm the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, the political party on whose ticket petitioner contested as candidate for the office of President in the presidential elections held on 7th December 2020. I testify in support of the petitioner's case as contained in this petition. Yeah.
Go on. As General Secretary,
paragraph 2. I've finished reading paragraph 2.
No, I'm putting it to you that as General Secretary of the NDC, you are the coordinator of the general elections, particularly the presidential elections for the NDC.
I'm the coordinator of campaigns for the party, generally.
Yeah. And as coordinator, you coordinate the work of your agents, the agents of the presidential candidates throughout the country, and they report to you in that capacity.
Yes, my Lord.
So, it is correct to say that you had full information on what was going on all over the country during the 2020 presidential elections.
My Lord, if I may find out which information you are relating to.
I say relevant information as to how the election was run.
Yes, by and large, I have information.
And I believe that on that basis, you provided petitioner with all relevant information on developments you consider significant, particularly the presidential results.
Yes, my Lord.
As you received them. Is that not so?
Yes, my Lord.
So, I believe the petitioner has trust in you, and that together with the strategic role you play in coordinating the activities of agents of the petitioner during the elections, he selected you to give evidence in support of his case.
Yes, my Lord.
Now, you remember that when the President of the Republic in July 2018 appointed the current chairperson of First Respondent, your reaction as General Secretary to the appointment was that you were shocked and disappointed because Second Respondent was a known pro-MPP person. First Respondent was a known pro-MPP person. Is the chairperson, sorry, the chairperson of the First Respondent is a known MPP person, and an anti-NDC person. That was your reaction.
Yes, my lord, those were my words.
Indeed, when the first respondent announced that they were going to compile a new voters register, your party, the petitioner, and you in particular, you strongly resisted saying, alleging among other grounds that first respondent and the president were colluding to compile a new register to rig the elections. That's what you said.
Yes, my lord, and we have grounds to say so.
And indeed, the NDC, of which you are General Secretary, went to court to stop the compilation of a new voters register.
Yes, my lord.
And even when the plan for registration was unveiled, you denigrated it, stating that it was calculated to favor the second respondent.
Yes, my lord, and events subsequently vindicated that position.
You see, I put it to you that you and your party, including the petitioner, viewed the chairperson of the respondents with jaundiced eyes and had a predetermined position on her alleged lack of neutrality.
My lord, we viewed her accurately and saw the reflection of her in our eyes, and that was the basis on which we made those statements.
You see? So, it is based on this unfounded prejudice that you have against the first chairman or the first respondent that you are doing everything to discredit the elections.
My lord, I have not said anywhere that the prejudices are unfounded. I'm saying that they were founded on solid facts.
Now, you see, I want you to look at Exhibit 4 attached to the first respondent's witness statement. That's what I said.
Respectfully, I think we're back to the same problem. Is it going to be put as an identified document or what? Because
now, I'm suggesting to you for purposes of identification for the time being that this is the official Form 13B, that is the Declaration of Presidential Election Results National Summary Sheet. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Look at the first respondent's witness statement and look for Exhibit 4.
my Lord, respectfully, it is for the council to put to him whatever document he wants to put to him. It's not for him to look for a document. I mean, what is this?
For example, first respondent's witness statement is not in evidence. It's not in evidence yet. Yes. Yeah.
My Lord, my first time of seeing this document was where it was filed.
Very well.
We never even, I never cited it anywhere.
Yes.
I've never signed it. The agents at the strong room don't have their signatures here. And the announcement, the declaration that was made on the 9th did not relate to any of the figures that I'm seeing here.
We'll come to that. We will relax. So you look at the percentage, the total number of valid votes obtained by the second respondent. What is it on this document?
On this document, yes. I can see 13,121,101.
You see, you've also made an error. I said the total
valid votes
obtained by second respondent.
Oh, okay.
You see, you have made a mistake.
Sorry. Yes, everybody is capable of making mistakes, but there are established ways of correcting every mistake in every situation in life.
Please go on. Now read to the court the total number of votes obtained by the second respondent.
This document, the witness can be made to be reading numbers from a document that is not in evidence.
My Lord, my purpose. Yes. So, very well. Very well. So you will see, Mr. Nketia, that each of the votes attributed to each of the 12 candidates on this document is exactly what the chairperson of the first respondent declared on 9th December. That's the significance. It's the same.
The document is not with me.
But that's the problem. You see, you.
Mr. Akotampa, you have to be patient.
Very well.
Both of you can speak at the same time, or you lose.
My Lord, I'm well advised. So I'm saying that in your witness statement, you have attached a video clip of the declaration by the chairperson of the first respondent.
Yes.
Do you want it to be played so that you can refresh your memory?
Yes, my Lord.
Very well.
I mean, the videotape is attached to our evidence. At the appropriate time, it can, my Lord, it can be played. But my Lord, we need to understand what is the purpose, because we cannot just go on in this manner. When a document that we have tendered in evidence, they are going to determine when it is going to be played. Is that the procedure of this court?
Because you see, there's a problem with this witness statements which has been introduced. Yes, you see, what we normally do, as you've done in this case, is for you to exchange the prospective exhibits. At least they have a fair knowledge of the exhibits which you intend to tender. Equally so, they also have a fair knowledge of the exhibits which you may tender. So that is why probably you attach it, not to take them by surprise. Yes, and they would want the court to have, the witness who had it annexed to the witness statement to identify it. And I think
Yes.
Please. Now, I think that the issue is that counsel for the second respondent is showing the witness another document, their document, and he's saying that some information on this document that he's showing him is the same as the information that you have exhibited.
Yes, but my Lord, respectfully, that document he has said he saw for the first time.
Yes, but you can still ask him.
Why is material from that document being used as if it is in evidence? It is not in evidence.
He just wants to show you your own exhibit. If I remember correctly, he wants to show you your own exhibit.
He himself has tendered that exhibit. And so, I mean, if he's going to be asked the question about it, the question can proceed. But he's saying that he wants that exhibit to be played at a certain time. And
no, because he said he doesn't remember the contents.
No, my Lord, he did not say that. He said he was looking for the document. That's what he said.
Okay.
He didn't say he was not.
Okay. So let him find it, and then we proceed.
My Lord, I think that it is preposterous for counsel to say that evidence that he has tendered, I cannot ask the witness to look at that evidence and ask him questions.
not come to that. We are resolving this matter.
No, but my Lord, this objection has no basis. Very well, my Lord. My submission. And he's saying that they have not played it yet, so we cannot, when they have finished their evidence in chief. My Lord, no, okay. Very well.
I think
Mr. Kotampo, could you kindly remind me which exhibit were you referring to?
They are exhibit A.
Mr. Asiedu Nketia exhibit A.
Yes, my Lord.
All right. Thank you.
want to have your witness statement? Yeah, is it not attached to your witness statement? Exhibit A. It's not the petitioners. Yes.
The election was conducted in 38,622 polling stations across the country and in 275 constituencies. I'll now turn my attention to the reason why we are here. At the end of a transparent, fair, orderly, and timely and peaceful presidential election, the total number of valid votes cast was 13,434,574, representing 79% of the total registered voters. Permit me to present the results in the order of appearance on the 2020 presidential ballot. At the end of the polls, Nana Aduabo of the New Patriotic Party obtained 6,730,413 votes, being 51.595% of the total valid votes cast. John Dramani Mahama of the National Democratic Congress obtained 6,214,889 votes, being 47.366% of the total valid votes cast. Christian Kwabena Andrews of the Ghana Union Movement obtained 105,565 votes, being 0.805% of the total valid votes cast. Agyin of the Convention's People's Party obtained 12,215 votes, being 0.093% of the total valid votes cast. Maame of the Ghana Freedom Party obtained 5,575 votes, being 0.042% of the total valid votes cast. Henry Herbert Lati of the Great Consolidated Popular Party obtained 3,574, being 0.027% of the total valid votes cast. Hassan Ayariga of the All People's Party obtained 7,140, being 0.054% of the total valid votes cast. Percival Kofi Apanu of the Liberal Party of Ghana obtained 7,690 votes, being 0.059% of the total valid votes cast. David Asiedu Nketia of the People's National Convention obtained 10,887, being 0.083% of the total valid votes cast. Acquah of the Progressive People's Party obtained 6,848 votes, being 0.052% of the total valid votes cast. Agyin of the National Democratic Party obtained 6,612 votes, being 0.050% of the total valid votes cast. Alfred Asiedu Nketia We're, independent candidate, obtained 9,703 votes, being 0.074% of the total valid votes cast. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, currently the election results we have declared exclude that of the Techiman South constituency, which has a total voter population of 128,018. The said election results are not ready because they are being contested. As such, collation has not been completed. It is important to note, however, that the difference between the total number of votes between the first and second candidates is 515,524 votes. As a result, if we were to add the 128,018 true results to the results of the second candidate, it will not change the outcome of the election. Hence, our declaration of the 2020 presidential results without that of Techiman South. Indeed, if you were to add the entire results or collate all the results from the Techiman South constituency and add that to the percentage and the votes of the second candidate, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, he would obtain 47.873% of the total votes cast. And Acquah would obtain 50.8% of the total votes cast. It is on that basis that we say that the outcome of the election will not change. Hence our declaration of the 2020 presidential results without that of Techiman South. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on the basis of the foregoing election results, and by the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana and the returning officer of the presidential election, it is my duty and honor to declare Nana Akufo-Addo as president-elect of the Republic of Ghana.
And the election for giving us a working majority in Parliament. One.
So, Mr. Nketia, you can see that the figures that each of the 12 candidates obtained as announced or declared by the chairperson of the first respondent in her press conference of 9th December are exactly the same as the figures on Exhibit 4.
Lord, I repeat my objection that Exhibit 4 is not in evidence. We cannot be making reference to the content of Exhibit 4.
It is not coming from the witness in the witness box.
No, Exhibit 4 is not
Exhibit
coming
4.
from the witness.
Okay.
Exhibit 4 is not coming from.
Oh, okay, I see you.
It's not in evidence, and we cannot have its content just being smuggled in when it is not in evidence.
Yeah. My Lord, no, I see your point. I thought it was the exhibit which...
I thought he identified it earlier on.
But he said he was seeing it for the first time when it was put in the answer of the respondent. He said so. He didn't identify it.
Put up, then lay the proper foundation.
Very well. My lords, in any event, I'm putting it to you that the figures obtained by each of the 12 candidates in what is attached to first respondents' witness statement.
Mr. Kutofa, why don't you limit yourself to what the witness has tendered and which has been shown to us?
All right. So, Mr. Nketia,
What is you going to say?
I'm putting it to you that if you do the maths, which you do so, of the valid votes cast or obtained by each of the 12 candidates, you get a total of 30,121,111. Yes, very well.
About 1 hour ago.
So, can you tell the court what is 6,730,413 as a percentage of 30,121,111? Give him a calculator. Is it on?
He said,
What is the the votes, the total valid votes obtained by the second respondent, namely 6,730,413 as a percentage of the total valid votes in the whole election, which is 13,121,111.
That number is still being taken from a document that is not in evidence. That is still what he's doing, and it's not acceptable.
This is exactly Exhibit A. This is exactly. That's what the chairperson announced. That was what the chairperson announced.
We had it, 13,430 something. We had it.
All the numbers valid obtained by the 12 candidates adds up to something. That's 3,000,001.
What she stated, and what she stated was that the total number of valid votes cast is 14,434. That's what she stated. We all heard it.
She stated all of that. She also stated figures for each of the candidates. And this question is add that one to come to a certain asking
to do the percentage in relation to my Lord, if we can go, we can listen again and take down all the numbers that she actually pronounced and make sure, but we cannot use a document that is not in evidence. We can.
He has admitted the figure. The witness has admitted the figure. He has admitted the 13.
My Lord, that number is coming from our witness statement. Yeah. Our witness statement indicates, our witness statement is actually
that is presented in the witness statement.
Yes, that figure.
Yes. The figures of the EC.
Yes, that is right, and that's why I'm saying that if he's answering in terms of what we have put in our witness statement, of course that's correct, but he keeps going back to his exhibit, and that's... No, I don't want... I'm not suggesting that. I mean, I have watched it many times, but if your lordships want to watch it again...
No, the figures, you are disputing the figures. In your exhibit...
My lords, I'm saying that in our own petition, we have given this figure, and indeed, that is a matter that will become very clear in time. But in our own petition, we actually had this figure. So that was what the witness was referring to. That's what the witness was referring to. And that he can be cross-examined in relation to it. It's just that we are not talking about an exhibit, something that is not in evidence.
My lords, with all due respect, I'm hearing some very strange submissions this morning. My lords, if I may be heard. My lords, counsel for petitioner is suggesting that we can only question the witness on things that are in their witness statement or petition. Is that the suggestion?
You're saying that Exhibit 4.
I'm not using Exhibit 4. So I'm using what was broadcast a few minutes ago, the numbers.
Exhibit A.
Yes, that's what I'm using. Unless counsel wants to suggest.
It's appreciated. It's appreciated.
No, but my lord, counsel is always interrupting.
It's appreciated. It's appreciated. It's appreciated. Let the witness answer.
I'm saying, Mr. Nketia, that from the video attached to your witness statement as Exhibit A, the total number of valid votes cast in favor of the second respondent is 6,730,413. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would like to take the question again. Yeah,
I'm saying that from the declaration in the video clip that we just saw, it really is the basis of all your case, and you should know what is in it. The total number of valid votes that second respondent obtained is 6,730,413. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lord.
Good. Now, the total number of valid votes that the petitioner obtained from the declaration announcing your Exhibit A is 204,889.
That is so, my lord.
And it goes on to the very end in the announcement. I'm also putting it to you that if you do a sum of all these valid votes, yes. So can you tell the court what is 6,730,413 as a percentage of 30,121,111?
My lord, it's 51.29453 ad infinitum, so it can be rounded up to 51.295.
Very good. So 51.295%. Not so?
Yeah.
Now, what about the petitioner? His total valid votes are 214,889. 6,214,889. What is this sum as a percentage of 30,121,111?
My lord, it's 47.365569 ad infinitum, so it can be rounded up to 47.366.
So you admit that from the first, the chairperson of first respondents' declaration on 9th December. Second respondent crossed the more than 50% threshold.
From the declaration as announced?
From the figures that we just calculated, these figures which were announced, if you do them as a percentage of the actual total valid vote, these are the percentages you get for the petitioner and second respondent. That's what I'm putting to you.
But for...
This is what raises the difficulty. The previous question was the second respondent crossed the 50%.
Yes.
In recrafting, we change the second part. So kindly please the question as well.
Okay. So I'm saying that from the calculation of the percentages of first petitioner and second respondent clearly crossed the more than 50% threshold.
Well, if the figures are correct, yes.
From your home.
Now, again, you see that when you calculated the percentage for the second respondent, you came to a figure of 51.295. Not so. Yes, I'm just emphasizing it for my next question. Now,
yes, my lord.
You notice that when the chair of the EC was orally proclaiming this, she said 51.592, not so. 592, please. That's what she said. That's what she said, not so.
I can't remember what she actually said. I think she said 59. I don't know whether
she said.
Can we play that?
Can we play it?
Looking back.
Okay.
But you use that argument to arrive at your more than 100%. So you know it.
Yes, I want it to be played back.
To the results of the second candidate, it will not change the outcome of the election. Hence, our declaration of the 2020 presidential results without that of Techiman South. Indeed, if you were to add the entire results or collate all the results from the Techiman South constituency and add that to the percentage and the votes of the second candidate, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, he would, the Liberal Party of Ghana, obtain 7,690 votes. The total number of votes cast.
Go back. This is not what
434,000.
Okay, please.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the election was conducted in 38,622 polling stations across the country and in 275 constituencies. I'll now turn my attention to the reason why we are here. At the end of a transparent, fair, orderly, and timely and peaceful presidential election, the total number of valid votes cast was 13,434,574, representing 79% of the total registered voters. Permit me to present the results in the order of appearance on the 2020 presidential ballot. At the end of the polls, Nana Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party obtained 6,730,413 votes, being 51.595% of the total valid votes cast. John Drama.
So you can see from the announcement of the percentage that an obvious error was made by the chairperson of the first respondent. Is that not so?
My Lord, your question was for me to admit that the first respondent announced 51%, 592
yes.
instead of 295. But
it's
my Lord, that is wrong. She actually mentioned 51.595,
yes.
not 295.
So I'm saying that from the actual calculation of the percentage, which you just did before this court, that was an error. You agree?
Yes, the percentage announced was an error.
Yes. But the correct percentage shows that the second respondent had crossed the 50% plus threshold.
Well, if all the figures are to be believed.
Yes, okay. So now, let's look at the press release of 10th December, which you have attached to your witness statement as your Exhibit B. Now, I'm putting it to you that if you add all the valid votes obtained by the 12 presidential candidates, you get a total figure of 30,119,460. But that excludes Techiman South, of course.
My Lord, I want to redo the...
You do the addition.
that will become very clear in time. But in our own petition, we actually had this figure. So that was what the witness was referring to. That's what the witness was referring to. And that he can be cross-examined in relation to it. It's just that we are not talking about an exhibit, something that is not in evidence.
My lords, with all due respect, I'm hearing some very strange submissions this morning. My lords, if I may be heard. My lords, counsel for petitioner is suggesting that we can only question the witness on things that are in their witness statement or petition. Is that the suggestion?
You're saying that Exhibit 4.
I'm not using Exhibit 4. So I'm using what was that broadcast a few minutes ago, the numbers.
Exhibit A.
Yes, that's what I'm using. Unless counsel wants to suggest.
It's appreciated. It's appreciated.
No, but my lord, counsel is always interrupting.
It's appreciated. It's appreciated. It's appreciated. Let the witness answer.
I'm saying, Mr. Nketia, that from the video attached to your witness statement as Exhibit A, the total number of valid votes cast in favor of the second respondent is 6,730,413. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would like to take the question again. Yeah,
I'm saying that from the declaration in the video clip that we just saw, it really is the basis of all your case, and you should know what is in it. The total number of valid votes that second respondent obtained is 6,730,413. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lord.
Good. Now, the total number of valid votes that the petitioner obtained from the declaration announcing your Exhibit A is 6,204,889.
That is so, my lord.
And it goes on to the very end in the announcement. I'm also putting it to you that if you do a sum of all these valid votes, yes. So can you tell the court what is 6,730,413 as a percentage of 30,121,111?
My lord, it's 51.29453 ad infinitum, so it can be rounded up to 51.295.
Very good. So 51.295%. Not so?
Yeah.
we should do that.
Now, what about the petitioner? His total valid
announced and what was corrected and what was subsequently corrected.
Please, hold on. So, I'm saying that 6,776,066, which is the total valid votes obtained by the second respondent.
On oath that it's for him, and he brought it to us.
He exhibited it. So I want to find out who generated it. And so it means your election generated it and gave it to you, and you exhibited it without seeing it.
Hard copies of the document because of the time pressure. I was discovering this thing today.
Okay,
so that's why I indicated that I haven't seen it.
Then I want to be very clear on these issues too. Very, very important to me. Now, in all the figures that were mentioned as the valid vote cast and all those things, you were saying if the figures were correct, and that there were inconsistencies in the figures, I want to ask you, now, in your own calculation, what were the total valid votes cast in the presidential elections on 7 December 2020? In your own calculations.
My Lord, those calculations are reserved for a meeting for us to reconcile the figures, because the first respondent herself keeps changing the figures. And so it is when you bring your...
Excuse me, Mr. Nketia, help the court. You see, when you started giving evidence, you said you had all representatives across the 275 constituencies. You said you put agents as, to use the... Yes, and they were to, collect the figures. You said it. Then he's asking you that from that, what figure did you get? You.
My Lord, I haven't brought that figure to court.
Okay. Then, from your own calculations, what were the valid votes cast in favor of the petitioner, to your knowledge?
My Lord, when we discovered this discrepancy, it was difficult to even know which figures are.
You don't know. You just answer. You don't know.
I don't have them here.
Okay. Then the last one. What figures from your own calculations did the second respondent get as the total valid votes cast in his favor?
My Lord, I don't have those figures here.
Thank you. That's what.
Mr. Asiedu Nketia, you have referred on a number of occasions to data being internally inconsistent. Can you explain what you mean by that? The data on the basis of which you have been cross-examined. You have kept saying the data was internally inconsistent.
My lords, there's no ambiguity in that statement. Nothing has been said here that suggests the statement is clear in its terms, so he cannot be asking him that question under re-examination.
My Lord, I believe the purpose of re-examination is to clarify matters that came up in the context of the cross-examination. So when the witness keeps saying that data is internally inconsistent, I believe that there is a need to explain.
My Lord, my understanding of data that is internally inconsistent is where figures are given and a total is given which is different from the sum of the figures. As we had on the declaration sheet for Eastern region, for instance. What, my Lord? You haven't finished? No, my Lord. The answer is that data, which is, if data is given and a total is also given, and when you add the totals, you add the data, raw data, it doesn't agree with the total as given, then the data is inconsistent. And I'm citing an example of the Eastern region collation sheet. My Lord, it was said in court here, we tendered two different documents. One was done
you see,
on
this is just
6:40 p.m.
Excuse me. You want to elicit an answer to a very simple question for him to explain inconsistency in data. But going back to Eastern region and flipping through the exhibits, yes, are you looking for fresh evidence? He wanted just a simple answer for you to tell the court what is, that's all.
My meaning is that when there is data,
we've got it, thank you.
And there is a claim that the data adds up to this, and when you actually add, it is different from what the total is claimed, then that data is internally inconsistent.
Mr. Asiedu Nketia, in connection with the cross-examination of counsel for the first respondent, he drew your attention to something from Agyin Asare, and he related that to the calculation. How does the Agyin Asare
I also object to this.
Well, I respondent. He drew your attention to something from Agyin Asare, and he related that to the calculation. How does the Agyin Asare
I also object to this.
Well, I also for first respondent referred to Agyin Asare in connection with the documents that he cross-examined you on.
Yes,
and my question simply is,
I want to make another understanding.
Yes.
Thank you, my lord.
Oh, yes.
Or what? Okay.
It's off record. You didn't tell us your other name. You did not tell us your other name. Your alias, which begins with a rank in the army. You didn't tell us your alias, which begins with a rank in the army.
My alias?
Yes, which begins with a rank in the army. Or you don't want us to take judicial notice of that?
My lord, I thought Justice Acquah prefaced his question with that.
Because you come from his hometown, that is why.
I've known that General Mosquito. That's alias. Very well, my lord, if you request. Thank you very much, your lordship.
The petition is adjourned to tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Yes. For the next witness.
All rise.
Of the hearings, and as we speak, the representatives of the lawyers on the second response.
So let's know when you're ready. You are? All right, so good afternoon. I'm very sure you have followed the proceedings in the wells of the Supreme Court. That it's been a good day in court, and that today the big word is exposed. Exposed. You'll notice that counsel on our side spent a lot of time exposing the inconsistencies and sometimes even outright falsehoods that have been put out by the petitioner and the witness who was in the witness box today. So when you juxtapose the earlier claims of we won now to what they are saying in the witness box about they don't know who won, when you juxtapose that to some of the tapes we played about claims of 51% on their side, now to claims that they did not even bring numbers to court, if you juxtapose that between their petition that talks about vote padding of a certain number and now a claim that it's only samples of that number, one of the first things that counsel on our side sought to do today was to expose the inconsistencies and sometimes outright falsehoods that have been peddled by the petitioner and the witness who was in the witness box today. Our counsel also spent a lot of time exposing the bad from her appointment, from registration, etc. And the belief on our side that this is just a culmination of the various attempts to undermine an otherwise very good job that has been done. Also exposed through very vigorous cross-examination is a claim that was being made that nobody actually won this election. And that's why you saw the Venerable Akoto Ampao over and over again now raise the numbers and ask the witness to do the computation. And if you fry it, you bake it, you turn it upside down, you cook it, it is still 51% plus for the second respondent and about 47% for the petitioner. And you saw him do the maths and admit himself in the witness box when he was under oath. What we also found interesting were the attempts to shield the witness by his counsel to an extent that even materials that they had tendered in, there was an attempt to ensure that he was not questioned on it, even at re-examination, attempt to adduce fresh evidence. But I think you saw how the court handled it. The very final exposure we saw today, an exposure on the lack of candor. You heard the 3 questions that the bench asked. That for all that you have said, when you finished your collation, what were your results? When you finished your collation, what were the results that the petitioner got? When you finished your collation, what were the results that the second respondent got? And it was, I believe it will be very surprising to the millions of NDC supporters across the country who were egged on by the same team that they had numbers to prove they had won. Now here in court, when the bench asked those questions, they say that they did not come to court with any of those numbers. They are not still able to put any numbers before the court. We're of the view that it's been a good day in court. You saw the lack of candor when on the soft copy on the pen drive, they had made notes that they observed what they call padding, both for the MPP and the NDC. Yet they had claimed that there was a deliberate attempt to steal this election for the MPP. And now in their witness statements, they sought to delete those ones out. And then when it was put to our very good friend, the general, he now said he was not responsible for the pen drive, etc. So that exposure of the lack of candor is also one of the things that our counsel sought to do. In conclusion for us today, our view is that if your case is bad, even the most skillful general will be exposed at cross-examination. And that's what we believe has happened today. If you have questions, we'll take them now and then we'll wrap up.